NYSC. Now, just a few days ago, Banky Wellington, Banky W, who is running for a seat in the House of Representatives, stated that the NYSC should be optional. Now, he says that the NYSC scheme had not achieved what it was designed for. And he also stated that the government could perhaps consider people who are interested and pay them a little bit more than the mass payment scheme for all graduates. Now, currently, members of the core earn 33,000 naira a month. Now, at their places of primary assignment, there might be a salary for some organizations and some government agencies. They get an extra payment. In some cases, they don't. And he says rather than that amount, perhaps they could pay up to 60 or anywhere between 60 to 80,000 naira to core members who choose to take part in this service. And our special guest is Dr. Karo Ogbinaka. He was formerly chairman of ASU and associate professor of philosophy. So, Dr. Karo, I want to ask, what are your thoughts regarding Mr. Wellington's views?
I think they are hasty in a sense, not well thought out, because we can repurpose the NYSC. We can expand its purpose. For example, Nigeria used to be a major producer of cocoa, of palm produce, timber, granules, etc. Youth corps can be deployed to be an economic intervention corps. Invariably, all they need to do is to engage them within the period for some form of economic purposes, especially agroeconomies. We are in dire need of beef and other form of like poultry farming. I think with what they are paying them, they can be engaged for such purposes, and they have some economic value along the line. No doubt the scheme ought to have served as a good basis for unifying the country. For example, I lived among the Biron people because of the NYSC. But when you come out of the scheme, what confronts you is everything that is antithetical to the unity of Nigeria. Everything that is antithetical to the unity of Nigeria. The government have very warped admission policy. They have very warped employment policy. The issue of federal character is only respected when it favors some people. And so it gives people that impression that what rubbish is this scheme about? There is really no problem with the scheme, except we have a government that is playing ostrich, that is running away from all its responsibilities, cannot manage refinery, cannot fix industries. And so there's huge unemployment all over the place. And the little 30,000 they pay for 1 year for graduates, the government is running away from it. You know, when the scheme started, it was basically for both polytechnic, NC, and university graduates. Because of funding, the other tiers were removed. And then the people thought it will end there. And now they're trying to bring in another joker, which is removing scrapping it entirely. I'm sure they are just trying to fly a kite. And it will be very sad, because many countries like Ghana, many countries in Africa, elsewhere, they have adopted this thing from Nigeria. Why is it that we cannot manage good things? Why is it that we run away from good things? I think these are basically the issue we should look at. The NYSC has been very useful in manpower production, especially in teaching, especially in northern Nigeria. Yes, in a way, it is antithetical to employing people. Some states just wait for streams of batches of NYSC graduates to run their schools, rather than employing them and giving them full employment. I think these are issues that can be addressed.
In some way, would it be would the concerns of people who say that coppers are being exploited for perhaps just that 1 year, is that a valid concern?
What informs the NYSC scheme? The government, for example, if you look at Nigeria today, we've lost a lot of medical doctors to Europe, and education is subsidized in Nigeria. In federal universities, the most some students pay, for example, is 15,000 naira per session. Their parents, of course, will take care of their feeding and lodgement. But what they pay as fees is institution free. It just services, they pay 15,000 naira. Now, if that person is not given the opportunity to serve the country for 1 year, I think it is a country that is really losing. They should be able, the country have sacrificed for you for 4 years. You should also pay back. One of the reasons I feel they want to scrap it has to do with class. A good number of our elites have their children abroad. And the tendency is that they will one day want to come back. And for them not to have that problem, they want to scrap it. Every time we see their children graduating in their foreign universities, do we see their children serving? Do they put it on Twitter or on Instagram? So they are just trying to make laws to favor their families. And I think that is where we should direct the conversation.
All right. Well, let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. And of course, the phone line's open 01 448 981. And you can also tweet at smooth981. Now, we're talking about the NYSC and where it is right now, where it has been, where it is, and where it could be going. Now, Banky W, who's running for a seat in the House, says it should be optional. Now, in 2021, we had a sitting member of the House of Reps representing Opopo, Andoni, and Karo in Rivers State actually sponsor a bill to completely scrap the scheme, citing security concerns among others. Let's go on to the phone lines. Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay, speak to us.
All right, so for me, I feel the NYSC should actually be scrapped because everybody talks about the fact that, oh, where they serve was really good. But nobody talks about the people that died, especially during an election time. I remember when I was serving, about 10 youth corps members died during the election because they came to their polling unit and they just opened fire. Some of them were kidnapped, kept overnight. Some of them were raped during that period. So during election period is usually very, very bad for corps members. And then they force people to hot parts of Nigeria where they are just in unrest. So there are people, the villages are fighting themselves, and you have people's children. Can you imagine someone has trained their child up to a certain age and then they just shoot them to a different state and you don't even know. First of all, the roads are not even accessible to those areas because there are no flights. The train systems are not good. The road is horrible, it's not safe. They should definitely scrap it. And I agree with what the professor said about them putting these laws to protect their children. I agree because all laws that are made in Nigeria are made for basically everybody, all the political family. That's what they make the laws for. So yeah, I agree with him. They make the laws for that, but at the same time, yeah, it should be scrapped.
Okay, thank you so much, Jade, for sharing your thoughts. 01 448 981. That's the telephone number. I've got a message coming through on WhatsApp, and this one is from Pastor Dapo. Okay, I'm going to go to the phone lines and come back to the message shortly. Good morning. Hi. All right, Chika, talk to us.
Let me start by saying that the NYSC is the purpose it's been achieved today. I don't really think so. And if that be the case, why is this still there? Like Banky W rightly said, let it be optional for whoever that wants to serve. If you want to serve, fine. If you don't want to serve, fine. I mean, 1 year is enough for one to actually use to do some more productive something. Because the essence of NYSC is actually bring about the issue of integration. But the question we should ask ourselves is that integration, is it being achieved today? The answer is no. Like the last caller rightly said, a lot of people after spending 4 years, 5, 6 years in the university, NYSC have actually taken away their life. I know somebody in particular, a friend of mine, right from secondary school. He came out with first class in chemical engineering from one of the federal universities. It was because of NYC that he lost his life. Without NYC, who knows? Maybe by now he would actually be somebody so influential and make something meaningful with his life. That is not to say everything that has advantage has disadvantage. But like I said, this thing should be optional. It shouldn't be mandatory. I mean, a lot of couples have actually been posted to places whereby life has become so miserable for them. And if I may ask your guest, the associate prof, well, he's actually my lecturer in Unilag. If I may ask him, is the NYC, are couples meant to maybe kind of fill in the gap for teachers? That shouldn't be. And before now, it wasn't like that. Why must all couples be mandated to go and teach? So as far as I'm concerned, let it be optional. Whoever wants to serve should go and serve. Who doesn't want to serve should actually go and make something meaningful with their life. That.
All right. Thank you so much, Chika, for calling 0144899981. Let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning. Hi. All right, Frank, speak to us.
All right. So let me start by picking on what the guest speaker made mention of the fact that it should be mandated that students should come back to give back to the country. Him saying that federal school fees are as low as 15,000. I don't think that's the case currently. If you really put your ears down to what's going on in the country, I don't think there's any school paying that for now. Then, like the last caller stated vividly, the aim of the scheme was to promote, ethnicity, in the country. But then currently that has not been the case. We must be honest to ourselves. So it should really probably not be scrapped, but then left to be optional, so that people who feel they want to, go through that phase, it's left to them to decide. But then trying to impose it on, because currently the country is both, the traveling, security threats, the state of living for core members in most of these communities and environment they find ourselves, quality of education in some of these places, because schools end up not, having teachers, qualified teachers. Students have to go through each year. There's a new teacher teaching them mathematics or physics or one subject or the other, and we end up having a haphazard educational sector. So it should be left open to people who feel they want to go through that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Frank, for calling. Can we take another phone call? Yes, let's go on. Good morning. Okay, 0144899981. Good morning. Hi, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay, another Frank. Talk to us.
I belong to the school of thought that feels that NYC should be scrapped. As I've lived its usefulness and the manner, I think it's an economic waste. Yes, because if we make it optional, you're still leaving a lot of room for people who are just feeding fast from that scheme. We're not gaining anything as a country from that scheme. People should be left to, if they have another thing, another scheme that will make it useful for both the people who are going through that scheme and the country. So that's not it. NYSC is not adding any value to the country, not adding any value to the individuals. But you just keep them there for 1 year with all the hazards, with all the safety issues.
But there have been some people who've actually gotten jobs at their PPAs, right? Some people are reported to have gotten jobs after service with the organizations they were initially posted to.
Stage is very insignificant. Most people end up, some people don't even do the scheme, they just get somebody to be signing their papers. At the end of the day, they clip their hand. It's just a waste of another way of creating jobs rather than just having a scheme that you've been there for like 40-something years and nothing has been added. Just something other than The only innovation is just to say everybody should go and teach. That's not right. As somebody said, the school is not even benefiting because every year you have a new sort of class. People are not prepared, people who are not educated in the art of teaching, they just send them to classrooms. At the end of the day, we gain nothing.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank, for calling and sharing your thoughts. Thank you. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue the conversation. Our special guest is Dr. Karo Ogbinaka. He was former chairman of ASU at the University of Lagos, and he's an associate professor of philosophy. This is Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. Okay, so we'll come back to you once we return.
All right.
Thank you. Excuse me, please.
Zero lag and quality data like never seen before. MTN 5G now available on iPhone. MTN, what are we doing?
If you're an employer or a business owner, don't miss out on this. You can now advertise a job vacancy on JobAman for free. That's right. You can advertise too. Take advantage of the system that allows you to enter a shortlist candidates with ease, tools, and visit www.jobaman.com/employers.
Okay, we're coming back, please. This is Smooth 98.1, Zibby here, and this is Lagos Talks. We're talking about the NYSC. Now, some are of the opinion that it could be made optional. Others say it's fine as it is. It's achieving what it set out to do at the beginning. And for some others, they say it should be outrightly scrapped. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think maybe more could be done to make it more efficient? Just in 2021, the reps member from River State, Awaji Nombek Abiante, had actually sponsored a bill to repeal the National Youth Service Act. Now, Minister of Sport and Youth Development Sunday Diary, on the other hand, believes that the NYSC is a great tool for national development. And a few days ago, Banky W, who is running for a seat in the House, also stated his views on NYSC, saying he believes it should be optional. Our guest is Dr. Karo Ogbinaka. He is an associate professor of philosophy, former chairman of ASU at the University of Lagos. And sir, I want to ask this though, are there areas within the scheme that you think could do with perhaps an upgrade or an amendment or a tweak?
I said earlier that the NYSC should be repurposed. And if you look at the law setting up the NYSC, really, it's supposed to be like a paramilitary organization as a backup force to the Nigerian army and security units. There were even a time people were advocating that coppers should be trained on how to bear arms. I think the federal government did not buy into that idea. In some countries, that is what it is meant for. The other idea, the other point I want to make is that I stand by the fact that education in Nigeria is subsidized. Excuse me. And here in the University of Lagos, the tuition fee for our students is 15,000 naira. I stand by that. I was deputy dean in the student affairs, where they deploy students for NYSC and where we interface students in terms of payments. So I'm speaking from a position of facts. But most parents don't know. That's the truth. The students have a way they go around their parents to collect money. But parents should be able to check and know the exact fee charged in federal schools. Having said that, the NYSC can be repurposed, and I did mention they could be used as an economic intervention force. And the idea that corpers are used for only teaching is also not true. The fact is that in most states, the only industry available to them for them is teaching. In most states, where you don't have, the federal government removed them from private sectors because of abuse, because some people in the private sector were paying them exorbitant fees. Some of them were working in banks, in oil sector, and they were not employing people in those sectors again. And so the policy was reviewed, and they said you must only work in public sector. Here in the University of Lagos, we have sizable numbers of corper doing administrative job, even in my department as I speak to you. So the idea that they are meant for teaching alone is not true. The fact is that the biggest employer of labor today in Nigeria, in the public sector, is perhaps primary and secondary school teachers. Now that railway and other sectors are coming up, I think we should begin to move towards that direction. Now, the issue of it should be mandatory. What is going to be the criteria of NYSC being mandatory? Personally, I will gladly support the view.
Dr. Karo?
But if you don't want to do it from day one, you should pay full fees. And you are exempted. Secondly, the moment they make it mandatory, the moment they make it optional, what will happen? Corruption will creep in. They will start inflating the figures of corpers and be collecting money for people that never served. Already we are seeing that in the scheme where some people are corpers by proxy. There are some professional corpers by proxy. All they do is that they tend to engage people to serve for them on their behalf. They've seen cases like that in the NYSC. If somebody is abroad, another person is standing in for him somewhere. Once you make it optional, you have a huge army of such corpers, and some people will just be loading the figure behind. So we have to be very careful when we want to look at policies. Yes, it may not have achieved national unity and integration, but that is not the only reason why the scheme was put in place. If they want to scrap it, well and good. Some of us have served much more thorough in our analysis and you can notice that a good number of the people who have spoken for it are actually students on ground. Some of us have left the system, and so we can look back and say, scrap it. One of the callers said, why do we like removing the ladder after we have gotten up? You know, you can't say as an individual, I cannot sit back to say, I did not benefit. I also made a point that you don't make a science out of an exemption. You don't make a science. Yes, people were killed. You now say, okay, youth corpers don't serve, don't participate in election. I personally opted out of carrying out any INEC job because of the experience I had with politicians. And also, when my daughter was serving, I told her clearly, don't do any INEC work. Let's leave it for the people who have the capacity, who want to endanger their life. So and today, if you are posted to some states, you can opt out. The NYSC doesn't frown at opting out again. That is, if you are posted to a state you are not comfortable with, you just fill a form and they post you to another state. So It's just that sometimes we have accidents, people die by accident, people run into bad group and all that. And really, why we value life, why we place high premium on life, I think the government should do all within its power. Number one, to address the issue of the welfare of coppers. And number two, to also and take care of the security of coppers. In the time of crisis, I remember most of the coppers were moved into military barracks in some states. And such things, they happen. But let us be very, very clear about the fact that the scheme was put in place for other purposes too.
All right, let's take a phone call. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, how are you? Very well, thank you. All right, Stanley, could you speak up a bit more, please? All right, talk to us.
Said about NYC, but I'd like to say this. One, it's a good opportunity to appreciate our diverse culture as Nigerians. Then secondly, let me say, someone called BW, Ban Ki-moon. Let me apologize on his behalf. I don't know him, but let me just say I'm sorry.
It's Banky W.
Banky, I'd like to say, throw this question to Banky. Banky is a musician. Banky, if you don't move around the country, how will people appreciate the culture? I mean, in terms of promoting your music, how will people appreciate your music if you don't move around? Okay? NYC is a scheme built to enable people appreciate a diverse culture. That's one. People clamor, if I tell you the truth, I can tell you that some of the people clamoring for this scrapping of this NYC are mostly beneficial of the same scheme. The NYC enables graduates to identify problems and prepare solutions. So some of the people we have today in this country are entrepreneurs. But people who were part of this scheme who identified various challenges in various states or probably spaces. And today they've been able to prepare solutions to some of those challenges. Okay? One other thing a lot of people don't understand is NYC enables a lot of people to become street smart. And that's the truth. Some have met their life partners as a result of this same scheme. So if you ask me, yes, we have challenges in terms of security. Yes, we have challenges in terms of allowances being paid. These are great areas the government can look into and do something about it. Now, somebody said people, a lot of states explore, they exploit NYC graduates. Okay, now let's say this: if you're saying they exploit NYC, people who go for NYC. Now, is there any harm as a copper in sharing knowledge? In you sharing knowledge, you also make the people you're teaching appreciate education. And as by so doing, you discover that they will also aspire to go further in life, to get educated, to acquire the same knowledge that has brought you to their environment. So I think with this little thing I've just said here, I think I'll rest my case here. And by the way, I'm a first-time caller, Vivian.
Wow, how do you know my middle name? Thank you for calling. Okay, all right, well, thank you so much for calling, and please don't be a stranger. Always would love you to continue to be a part of this show. Let's see, we've got some messages coming through. This one is from Pastor Dapo, and he says, good morning. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, we always misuse and abuse whatever we advocate for, and in most cases don't implement them proficiently. The NYSC program was originally formed and designed with good intentions, giving fresh graduates an opportunity to practice, diversify, and apply what they learned in school across different geographical locations. In Israel, graduates serve in the military. When my son graduated, he was posted to Zamfara State, but I had to work him back to Lagos just because I wasn't ready to lose him. Applying wisdom is different from enforcing academic intelligence. Okay. Tokoni Douglas says, if the NYSC must remain, it should be redesigned. As it is today, it's one of the key vehicles, amongst many others, of transmitting the culture of corruption from generation to generation. Also, using corpus as teachers is part of the bigger problem with the country. Education shouldn't be treated with such liberty. Teachers ought to be deliberately trained, depending on corpus to fill teaching roles, aside graduates of education courses can only get our education system worse off. And please don't call the WhatsApp line. I can't even take any calls from WhatsApp. You have to call the studio line 0144899881. Abbas Oladipo says, making NYC optional will defeat the purpose of the program. Even during the year of service, people do all sorts of things to relocate from the places of posting. Now look at what will happen if you make it optional. Many people will do everything to opt out. We just need to rejig the program. All right, thank you for that. And let's take one more phone call. Good morning. Hi, how are you? All right, Choma, speak to us.
Regarding the NYC discussion that's been discussed this morning, I think basically it's a good, I'm not part of the group who says that it should be scrapped. I think it just needs to be revisited and be kind of restructured. And restructuring is a word we use every day in this country. Because when it was created in the 70s, middle 70s, I think there was a reason behind it, which hence many of us who have called and said, like me, I said they benefited from the NYC scheme. But looking at what situation of the country is right now, that's why I think there should be a revisitation to the NYC scheme. And I think sometimes most of the callers who call in, there's a bit of sentiment which Nigeria use in terms of serious discussions. And that's a bit...
Oh, Choma, I was absolutely looking forward to hearing everything that you had to say, but it's all right. We don't need to end the conversation here. We can actually take the conversation to social media as well. We are on Twitter at Smooth981. Dr. Karo, thank you so much for being a guest on the show this morning. Thank you for sharing.
I appreciate being with you. Thank you so much.
And we hope to have you again.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We look forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you and have a brilliant day ahead. That's all the time that we have for Lagos Talks this morning. I do hope you have a beautiful day ahead. And don't leave though, because it never stops here in Smooth 98.1. Oluwaseun is going to be in from 10 a.m. for Strictly Soul. And then right after that, it will be time for the Casbah from 1 p.m. And then from 4, Smooth Drive. And from 8 p.m., Smooth Sessions. That's the lineup for the day. And don't forget to keep up with us on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Smooth981. Have a brilliant day ahead.